Mr. President, tomorrow, thousands of people will gather at Shields Arena in Fargo, North Dakota, to pay final tribute to a hero. I wish I could be there to celebrate his life as well. It's a life that's well lived, while far too short. Fargo police officer Jake Wallin was laid to rest on Saturday in the small Midwest town of Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. 11 days ago, on July 14th, Officer Wallin was killed as he and fellow officers Andrew Dotis, Tyler Haas, and Zachary Robinson responded to a routine fender bender, where they were ambushed by an uninvolved assailant armed with several weapons, 1,800 rounds of ammunition, and multiple handmade explosive devices, clearly intent on going on a murder spree. Officer Robinson, the last cop standing, swiftly responded to neutralize the threat, fatally shooting the hate-filled killer. Officer Wallin was murdered for simply being a cop, Mr. President, a peace officer helping ordinary people in need of assistance. A lifelong public servant gunned down simply because of the uniform and badge that he wore. He has been, is, and will forever be a hero to our community. Jake grew up in St. Michael, Minnesota, and enlisted in the Minnesota National Guard after graduating from high school. He served our country on deployment to Iraq and Afghanistan before returning home and joining the Fargo Police Department in April of this year. 3 months on the job. And like so many boys and girls, Jake wanted to be a police officer more than anything. In fact, his father, Jeff, said in an interview that he, quote, could never have stopped him from joining the force. He always wanted a job with purpose behind it and said he didn't want to work behind a desk. He said, in fact, quote, I want to be doing something I can tell myself at the end of the day that I made a difference somehow. That, colleagues, is the quote of an American hero. We need more heroes like Jake, ready to answer the call. In the time since Officer Wallin's passing, Fargo hardware stores have experienced a phenomenon that many outside of North Dakota would find baffling. Across the city, stores are almost completely sold out of blue light bulbs, as people rushed out to purchase them and light their porches and their homes blue in support of Jake and the Fargo Police Department officers. I wish every state was like North Dakota and every American had the same respect and admiration for our law enforcement officers. In our neck of the woods, we pass these values on to our children as we teach them the importance of law and order and hope to inspire them to one day be police officers like Officer Wallin, protecting and serving their communities. Our actions matter, Mr. President, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. The end result of ruthless attacks on the men and women in uniform, whether with our words, our actions, or calls to defund the police, have never been clearer than what transpired in Fargo just 11 days ago. We do not know the assailant's motives, but it is abundantly clear that he singled out the officers in his pursuit of a sick, twisted plan to wreak havoc in our community. He sought them out because of the job that they were doing. And while we are slowly learning the details of this senseless, tragic day, we know Officer Wallin is a hero who died serving his community. Heroes like Jake bravely respond to the call and serve without hesitating, without knowing what might be around the corner or the end of the parking lot. Chris and I are praying for the recovery of fellow officers Andrew Dotis and Tyler Haas, as well as bystander Carly Koswick, and the entire Fargo Police Department and fellow officers throughout our community, our state, and our country. We also pray that God's peace, that peace that Scripture tells us passes all understanding, will come to Jake's fiancée, Winter, his parents, Jeff and Amy, his brother, Brady, and his brothers and sisters in blue as they mourn this terrible loss. And with that, Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent to place Jake Wallin's obituary in the congressional record.
Without objection.
I yield my time.